Hello everyone, a very good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to all of the viewers. This is your host Vaibhav. In today's session of JForex Indicators Explained, we will be looking at the concept of a very interesting indicator. Interesting in a sense that this indicator tries to give you the possibility. It tries to identify the likelihood of a breakout happening on either side. It can be a bullish or bearish. So this tries to anticipate that, and that makes it more and more interesting, as it is very difficult. If you have been in trading in the market, you might be aware that it is almost next to impossible to figure out when exactly the particular move is going to happen. But this indicator, at least to some extent, tries to do the job, and it does it well. So let us now head to the JForex for the newly released trading platform from the Dukascopy Bank SA to see how this indicator works, and how we can customize this for figuring out the opportunities to trade with. So here you will find this indicator amongst volume indicators. So you can go for two options. Either you go for quick search using F4, or you go for a F3 add indicator option. Both ways you can find this option. Find this indicator. There is a Thomas Bulkowski indicator developed by Thomas Bulkowski, narrow range. The concept of this indicator is fairly simple. As the name suggests, it takes into consideration when the range has been rather narrow compared to what it has been in a historical reference period. So we take a particular reference period and then compare it to what is happening recently, and if it is showing that the recent range has been quite less compared to the prior period, that gives us the idea that the consolidation is happening, and since it is a natural course of action for the underlying instrument to have larger volatility. Sooner or later, the breakout is going to happen. So all we have to do is get ready for that breakout and try to take advantage of the situation for our benefit. So here you can add it simply by doing a quick search. Type in narrow, and this indicator will appear. Here it comes. All right. So here we have it, narrow range. Now coming to its use, and as I said, the concept is simple. It takes into consideration the price range in historical terms and see how the range in recent period has fared or is faring compared to the prior period. And if it is lower, if the volatility is less, then that is considered as a precursor of the coming times when the volatility is likely to shoot up. And this is a indicator which is, of course, if you simply use it in a standalone manner, this is not going to help you figure out the trend of the indicator, trend of the underlying instrument. For that, you will have to take the help of the price action and see on which side the move is happening, and then try to go with the flow and try to profit from that scenario. Now here I have added this narrow range indicator. The default configuration is usually of four candle periods are taken into consideration. Now that we have hourly as the time frame defined for the each candle period, this this indicator will simply take a cluster of four candles of 1 hour each and see what is happening, and in that context it will try to define the range when it is too narrow for the comfort and compared to the prior period. Then we will have this indicator flashing the signal that the range has been too narrow and it might shoot up on either side. So please ignore this arrow. It is not indicative of the move, whether it is going to go lower or higher. It is simply indicative of range being narrow. Now in addition, you will of course have to look at the price action, the trend. Maybe you can add other combination of indicator to figure out the trend and then take the trading decision accordingly. So that is something which we have to figure out independently of this indicator. But once you have a good idea, good understanding of how this consolidation phase relates to the trending phase, then of course I think it opens up new possibilities to work with. Now let's try out a larger time frame here, and as you can notice, we don't really get this indicator flashing the narrow range sign too often, as I have increased the calculation period only when the range narrows too much in terms of its reference calculation period. Only in that scenario we get this indicator flashing the signs that the range has narrowed too much, and this might be the time for the consolidation phase to finally give way for a fresh spurt of action. So we should be gearing up for that possibility. That's how this indicator tries to warn you ahead of the possible big move. And it can, as I said again, or before also, and I am repeating again, that this move can happen on either side. For that we will need a different sort of assessment for figuring out the ways to profit from these expansion of the range from narrow to broader. Let's see what we can do with this indicator in terms of the customization options available on the platform. We can vary its calculation period. We can increase or decrease. Suppose if you feel like, you can increase the calculation period to say 24, where we have now the price action of last 24 guiding us in figuring out the recent range. So if we have larger range over last 24 hours, and then in recent times, recent hours, the range narrows too much, then we will have this indicator flashing those signs, and keeping all the other things in mind, keeping all the other consideration in mind, then we can figure out that whether this is the right time to get involved, or should we wait for consolidation to keep unfolding, and maybe we can go for double confirmation or something of that sort to get additional confirmation in place before we jump in to trade with these narrow range indicator signal. And as you increase the calculation period, you will see that these signals generated are going to be sparser and sparser. Fewer and fewer signals are going to get generated as I increase this range of the indicator, the calculation period of the indicator. Suppose, for example, if I make it 48, now you can notice that as I increased its calculation period, these signal generated have become quite infrequent. Only after considerable amount of time, sometimes these signals are getting generated, and that is because as we increase the calculation period, that takes into consideration more data points, and in all those data points, the range at some point in time or other is likely to be higher compared to what we are experiencing in recent hours. So as a result of that, it becomes very difficult to figure out the exact moment when the range is lowest of all these large calculation period which are being considered. Because of that, the signals become less and less frequent, and we have to wait more and more for opportunities to trade with. So let us keep it workable and reduce it. Maybe for simplicity purpose, I will just restore it back to the default calculation period of 4. And in that scenario, you are going to get a lot of signals, but you will have to filter out the noise and see which signal to act on and which signal to ignore. Only in that case, I think it is better to go with the indicator and try to figure out a setup which is likely to have higher probability of being right. Now, for output value, you can go for any color combination of your choice. You have this customization tool at your disposal, and we can go for that. We can go for this arrow to be colored yellow or any color of your choice. You can go for different types of transparency. You can increase or decrease the transparency. If you want to make it look less prominent on the chart, you can make it look less prominent on the chart. If you want to make it more prominent on the chart, you can do that as well. So it's all about the aesthetics and the usability, and at the same time making sure that the chart is not getting too cluttered for our comfort, and it is working well, and we are able to read into the data without our mind getting too cluttered for these indicator. The advanced editing option, recalculate on new candle output. Then we come to the advanced editing options. If you want this indicator's output value to remain constant throughout the current candle period, once we have taken into consideration the prior data points, you can opt in for this option. Or else, depending on how the price action evolves throughout the current candle period, we will have the final outcome which is going to be variable. It will be showing differently at a different point in time throughout the current candle period. So that's what we have to work with if we don't really opt in for this option. Highlight the time period zone if you want the calculation period to be highlighted, so as your job becomes easier to keep in mind what is your reference range, then you can opt in for this option. Calculate from custom data, the calculation can be further customized. You can go for the instrument euro USD or any other instrument of your choice. So here if I change it to say, for example, euro GBP or any other commodity currency, the indices or any other supported financial instrument on the platform, for most of these instruments this indicator will work just fine. So this is almost a universal indicator, and you won't find much of an problem working with different sets of instruments. We can also customize the candle period. We can use it from the chart, or we can keep it separate. We can hard code it in a way that we have this option of going for a different calculation period compared to what we are observing on the chart. Now here, this indicator is being shown on the hourly candle period, but the actual calculation is happening while considering the each candle period to be only of 15 minutes each. So that is something which is different, and we can vary it, and it is going to work independently of what's the charts candle period. So that is of something of an property which is quite helpful when you want to customize these indicator for your benefit as per your requirement. I am now again going to restore it back to use from the chart. The spread side can be ask or bid, so you get these two options, and there will be slight difference, not much of a difference, depending on what kind of price moves you have observed in the spread and the ask side, and that mostly happens around the closer of the US market and prior to the opening of the Asian trading session. The spread shoots up, but apart from that, the spread is reasonable most of the time throughout the day. If you want the indicator to be available on all the candle periods, you can have that. All you have to do is opt in for this option to have indicator available on all the periods, or else you can define it on which candle period you want this indicator, and only on those candle period this indicator will be available. Suppose if I want it on hourly, or for example 5 minute, you can have that as well. So here we have it now for 5 minute. Earlier it was only hourly, but for example if I change it to a 30 minutes, then there won't be any plotting of this indicator. So that is something to work with while figuring out these uses of the indicator, which are likely to help us in making our trading more and more profitable, so as to make more money out of all the opportunities which keep arising in the market. So that's all from my side for today's session. If you have any query or any idea to share, you can write back to me in the feedback section, and I would be more than happy to take the discussion forward. Before I sign off, I would also like to remind of the risk associated with trading in the financial instruments. So due care needs to be exercised always whenever you are working with any indicator or any setup. We are also available on the Facebook. You can reach out to us there for further coverage of the market developments. Do check out the Dukascopy Analytics page. I have also included the link for this platform in the bio. So give it a try and let me know how it works out for you. That's all from my side for today's session. I will be back tomorrow with a fresh formation, fresh setup. We will talk about using a new indicator which is likely to help us in making our trading more profitable. If you are already profitable and if you are loss making, then that indicator I hope will help you turn around the trading and make you profitable. See you tomorrow, guys. Goodbye.